Yes, and welcome to the weigh-in. Wherever you are, whenever you are, first and foremost, I hope you're all keeping well, staying safe, and remaining in good spirits. I'm Ando Bont, and I'm joined by the regular heavy hitters on the scales. Actually, got a full strength squad today. Welcome, Clive. How you doing, bro?
Yeah.
You have Stephen Ray in the house.
Yeah, good. I'm loving these puns, man. These boxing puns are getting up there, bro.
Ray in the building, back in the scales. You see how we are?
You keeping light and sharp?
As always, man, out here training old school, marvelous Marvin Hagler style in all sorts of weather conditions. I'm still getting them pad working.
How you been? Skiving off last week, yeah?
Oh, snap. You know what? I'm just waiting for my espresso to kick in, man. Been up all night watching the UFC. And tell you what, man, I'm absolutely shattered this morning, chaps.
Yeah,
all good, man. All good, man.
Moving to Thailand was a good decision for these UFC things, man. Got down to the boozer, 10 o'clock, cheeky breakfast, little cappuccino. There I was watching it. All done by 12:30, man. Crack on my Sunday.
I made that mistake of not going for a nap beforehand. And just really, really feeling it. So I could see myself knocking out after this. But hey, it is what it is, man.
Bro, you're a pro.
Yeah,
You've been doing this for like 15 years now, these US fight cards.
Oh, man.
Got to be more savvy than that.
I know. But you would have thought that, I would have got used to this shit by now. But obviously not. You know what? I was ready to cut my losses, man. When it came to 5 in the morning, I thought, you know what? I'm going to throw the towel in, catch the fight the following morning. But I'm glad I stayed up for it.
Came on just the right time. I think I'll never forget the infamous Mayweather versus Canelo fight. And I remember I was watching all the highlights going into the morning, all the pre-show stuff, because I remember I had work in the morning. I had to wake up for 6 in the morning to get ready for work. And I couldn't believe the fact that whilst I'm getting ready for work, where I was like, I've had my showers about 6:30, 6:45, the fight was still going on. And I was just like, this is getting ridiculous now. They took their sweet time.
We don't watch that together at Asper's Casino in Stratford, where there was mad brawls breaking out in that fight. Chairs flying across.
Yeah, whole time Asper's.
Yeah. Asper's made a mistake of letting people in for free in Stratford. You don't let people for free in Stratford, bro.
Oh, man.
I don't think they ever did it again. There was like
all the aggression they wanted to see in the fight.
That was jokes. Yeah, I remember that.
All right, guys. So drop us a comment, share, and press that like button. Make sure you subscribe. You can also find us on Instagram.
Yes, on today's show, we're discussing Josh Warrington vacating his IBF World Heavyweight title. Also, we're discussing Canelo returning to action next month. I must say, guys, it's not quite a mega fight. It's not Billy Joe Saunders, and it's not Trilogy against Golovkin. It's somebody else. And also, on a bit of a sour note, we've actually got Kovalev now. A bit of a spot of bother there, having failed a drugs test. So could this spell the end for the 3-time world champion?
Yeah.
First, let's do something a bit different. I know you guys mentioned it a few minutes ago on the big UFC fight against who is it? McGregor?
McGregor against Dustin Poirier too.
Yeah, man. So I know we are a boxing podcast, but I want to do something a bit different and actually talk about all things in the octagon. Technically, he's still a boxer.
And also, my theory is that they still weigh in the UFC, and we're the weigh-in, so it's all good.
There you go.
Finding those correlations there, man.
Yeah, for all Conor fans, it didn't quite end in the way they wanted to. Clive, do you want to recap on the fight?
I didn't see it as a shock. Poirier's a brilliant fighter. Well, I expected to go for the distance, to be honest. Steve?
Yeah, man, a sad day. Everyone knows, like, if you're a fan of the show, I'm a big Conor fan, man. So that was a real bummer today. Looking at him, I think he's lost a little bit of pace there. He's lost a little bit of energy, a little bit of explosiveness. Didn't look as powerful as he once did. Maybe he hasn't carried the power up to 155 from the power. I remember when he was at 145 pounds, and like Dustin was able to eat the shots that maybe 5 years ago would have put Dustin away or would have had more impact. So yeah, Conor, like I said, I put in a group chat, like he was one of those explosive guys when he was young, kind of like Rooney as a football player, just like real explosive and aggressive. And then as he got older, like no longevity. I fear that that's what Conor is like. Do you know what I mean? Like 32 years old now, he's just lost it. He's lost a little bit, but I'd still buy into that trilogy fight or Nate Diaz trilogy or something. But yeah, bummed out today.
I think I've been watching MMA for a while, as some of you may know, over a decade. I'm just happy talk is happening right now, because growing up they called me a madman when I was talking about this sport, and now look at us discussing MMA and boxing together. But to the fight yesterday, it was a surprise. But I guess for many people, it was more a surprise that everyone thought that if it ends early, it's going to be Conor that would have slept Dustin. And I think people need to start giving Dustin more of his respect, because the way I understand how popular culture is, everyone likes to make fun of people, everyone likes to do mean, but please let's not rob Dustin Poirier of this moment. Conor didn't fight some bum who like done the biggest upset victory. He's not one of the biggest upsets in the UFC. This is a very top contender, creme de la creme fighter, and quite the journey. I've seen him, like I said, over a decade ago, watching him in other promotions and seeing the fighter that he's growing into now after the losses. And one thing I like about MMA is that even after losses, they still embrace you. You're not just a written off article after one loss. So shout out to Dustin, credit to Conor, because love him or hate him, he takes the loss on the chin and looks to better himself after. So for me, I see him going forward, either facing Tony Ferguson or getting that trilogy fight with Nate Diaz, or possibly both. I think this may have been a big blessing for Conor to reignite the flame that, like he said in the octagon, he hasn't fought as much. He started to realize that you can't take this game for a joke, and this might be the best thing. So might get Conor 3.0 coming from this. So we'll have to wait and see.
Hopefully it's better than David Haye 3.0, isn't it?
Oh Lord,
Oh yeah, let's not. Do you think that hunger is still there with Conor?
I think this will be. I think this will be the fight to. No, the next fight will be the decider, because I believe that some people are saying that he had no hunger this fight, but I think it was just more of, once you get to a certain level of trash talking, you don't want to become a caricature of yourself of always forcing trash talk for the sake of forcing trash talk. Now it's more about having balance of, is he still hungry, and does he still have that ferocious hunger of a contender in him? Because most fighters do lose it. It's not just Conor's a special case in regards to that. So have to wait and see until the next match.
And how did you find his boxing last night, chat?
That's one thing I was going to touch on, actually. Like his boxing, I watched an interview with his boxing coach, and he's brought in his former amateur boxing coach from when he was a kid, and he's really sort of fallen in love again with this idea of boxing. Yeah, he does genuinely love the sport. It was his first discipline, and he's come across. And I heard his boxing coach saying, Dustin Poirier's boxing is rubbish. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. These guys can't strike. And I remember I used to say this to Ray when we was at school. You know, I'm doing boxing, he's doing MMA. I'm like, oh, boxing guys. It's different, yeah? His legs were so under him today, and he was in a boxing stance, and he didn't think about what was coming back with the calf kicks, for a takedown. His defense wasn't there for that. I felt like he was in a good boxing position, but this is MMA, and I think that was a hindrance to him. And that, you know, the leg was just presented. You know, I think that let him down. And when his coach said that worried me, to be honest.
I want to touch upon another thing. So with him looking to go into boxing, does that damage the credibility of boxing, or does it open new doors?
Boxing credibility, man. Yeah, I think he's got unfinished business there, man. If he'd won tonight with a big knockout in the first round, big left hand, and put him away, you're talking there. You can't be getting beat in UFC and then jumping across and fighting the best fighters in boxing. That doesn't work.
Guys, I just want to take it back to the whole event and the whole fight experience. What can boxing learn from the Abu Dhabi Fight Island?
Yeah, that's it just shows the ambition of UFC. I think that's just Dana White, though, like the embodiment of Dana White and sort of that level of ambition. Eddie Hearn saying that. I think Eddie Hearn had a kind of a loyalty to Britain and putting fights on there and to the British Boxing Board of Control. But he did say that this year he can no longer do that. And he's going to go to different territories and promote boxing with a British boxing license and do it that way, which he didn't want to do, but needs must. So it's kind of that thing of like loyalty to different areas. And Las Vegas has been good to certain promoters. The UK has been good to other promoters. It's difficult to just jump ship like that, but needs must.
Yeah, you got to come out your comfort zone. And I think credit to Dana White, because when the pandemic first happened last year, he was so determined to make sure that he got it right. And many sports, you could say, modeled their bubbles off of what the UFC done. Kudos to him. You never know, like you mentioned about Conor and his boxing, he might make an appearance, get a couple wins under his belt in the UFC, and that bravado might come back for boxing.
Mention that, Ray. Seriously, can we see McGregor taking on Manny Pacquiao in the future?
I can see it happening, but
it's lost a lot of steam, unfortunately, because I'm normally not a fan of certain spectacles, as these lot would let you know. But I guess my thing is that I understand both guys near the end of their career. I'm here for them cashing out. It's not much as of is not really as much of a freak show as if he was to fight some so-called YouTubers who I'm not going to mention. But definitely, if we could get that fight with Pacquiao, both at the end of their career, listen, let them cash out. Although I'm still on the thing of I want Pacquiao to face Crawford, but I can't blame him if he wants to cash out at his age and his part of his career.
Now, Clive, I was going to say, I know you guys gave me stick in the chat earlier about me mentioning the names of Jake Paul and Logan Paul, but seriously, can we see McGregor taking these guys instead in boxing?
No.
Who has Jake Paul fought though?
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Like there's levels. Like they call Ryan Garcia an Instagram boxer, but this is like
this is the real Instagram boxer.
It's like what was that like that football thing they used to do at West Ham where celebrities go and play football? Yeah,
I was Soccer Six.
Soccer Six.
Bro. You're not going to get the winner of Soccer Six in there with like Man United in the FA Cup final, are you, bro? Like, or they're not going to enter the FA Cup or some dumbness. It's a madness. And this is fighting. Nah, man, Jake Paul needs to know his levels. Carry on making YouTube videos.
But there's an argument there, guys, surely, because if you go back a few years, we had Freddie Flintoff get a boxing license and he fought.
And he fought guys his level.
Who did he fight, Andrew?
I'm not saying who's a fight. I'm just saying.
And like, bro, the guy was a fighter. Yeah, they brought up a guy from Cruiserweight who was a terrible. They need to put him over, and the guy, they were both terrible. The other guy was brought in to lose, obviously, for Freddie Flintoff's first fight. He puts over Freddie Flintoff in the first or second round, and they give Freddie Flintoff a draw. And he was a top athlete. Just stick to your lane, innit? Like,
yeah. You know what I mean? If I'm not mistaken, guys, that was on the same night, on the same card as a heavyweight fight. I think it was David Price against Sexton for the British heavyweight title.
Yeah.
Flintoff's fight actually got more traction and a bigger audience.
Don't misunderstand me. I understand using celebrity, but then there's levels to how you use celebrity. And I think as much money as there is, let's not go to the point where you take so much money that you damage the sport. And I think that's where the thin line is. I actually like the whole YouTubers taking boxing seriously and fighting. I think is a good thing to show people of just taking the sport seriously, making a commitment to something. You might not be doing it full time, but it gives you, a passion, a drive to better yourself and to fight it out. But when we start crossing it over with elite level fighters and people at the beginning of their career, it's kind of like, let's not take the mick, let's not push the boundary of mockery. I'm here for boundaries getting pushed, but there is always and should be a line.
That's the thing. Like, you can't just have like a circus act, sort of. We can't, like you say, boxing is kind of toes the line of being a respectable sport at all times. The governing bodies, we've got a lot of problems in the sport. Sort of who's the world champion? How does it work? Why don't they fight more regularly? What's going on with this sport? Yeah, it's a bit random. And then you bring in like YouTube, as someone who's just got a big following on YouTube can then call out the best fighter or the best UFC fighter, and just because they got that traction, it's like they can fight. And then like, where does that leave any credibility for the fight game? Also, if McGregor got in there with Jake Paul tomorrow, Jake Paul will get himself hurt. Like, do you know what I mean? Get genuinely in a cage, like blah blah. It's not safe. It's not safe, and it's not credible. So I think and people are following it to try to get the numbers up because Jake Paul does good numbers. But it will end up with him, getting his gloves checked and getting into an octagon. He's going to get himself hurt if he carries on. So he should just chill.
Talking of boxing comebacks, comebacks in general, Oscar De La Hoya fancy returning to the ring. So we'll have more on that in the future. But let us know what former ring king you'd love to see box again. Steve, let's start with yourself.
Oh man, if we're talking like taking a fighter in their prime and putting them in this generation to fight one of our fighters now, bro, it's got to be Lennox Lewis against Anthony Joshua, heavyweight matchup.
Oh mate,
like that one.
That's quality.
What about you? What are you saying?
Me, I'm not too sure, to be honest. I need to think it up properly. Maybe Joe Kazalgi.
Oh,
enjoyed watching him growing up. Prince Azim, in fact.
Mate, Kawasaki Canelo, get at me, bro. Super middleweight. Kawasaki Canelo, super middleweight, get at me, bro.
Raymond, what about yourself?
Ray's still thinking, but I know he would say Sugar Ray. I know he's a big fan of that one.
Oh, Sugar
Ray.
Come
on, my namesake.
Sugar Ray at welterweight, man. Sugar Ray Spence, Sugar Ray Crawford. Wouldn't say no.
I mean, I think I'm like you, Steve. I'll definitely want to see Lennox Lewis fight again.
Yeah, for real.
But most importantly, Oscar, stop the nonsense.
Yeah.
Stop. I understand, Oscar, you've done a few boxer size classes. You're feeling yourself.
He's 9 mile run 3.
Listen. Not everyone is B-hop. Stop the nonsense.
Yeah,
Stop it, Oscar. Take care of yourself. Unless you want to come out and, I don't know, fight someone in your similar age bracket, a la Jones versus Tyson, stop this expeditiously.
I mean, guys, where do we draw the line? Because before Christmas, we saw Mike Tyson take on Roy Jones Jr., and that was a great exhibition.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Something we can see why they did it. Like, do you know what I mean? It was Mike Tyson had like a little bit of unfinished business. He got himself into great shape. He was overweight before, and he got so that was healthy for him. Do you know what I mean? Because it was a healthy input into his life. And, it was kept safe. It was done under kind of good rules. But generally, we all knew what that was. They weren't talking about getting licenses and coming back. I think that's where we draw the line.
How different is having a former fighter in La Hoya than it is to seeing boxers or guys who play rugby or a banker take on someone in a fancy, glitzy hotel room in London in a white collar fight?
If you do a white collar fight, they match you on experience. So they check your amateur boxing card and they see if you've had any amateur boxing fights, kickboxing fights. They match you on weight and they match you on age range. So if you're a 50-year-old who had no amateur experience, no boxing experience, they'll put you with another 50-year-old, same weight, no amateur experience. Also, you go down to a tryout thing where you hit a few pads and they check you out to see if you are lying about how much boxing you've done, or if you've sparred a lot and you haven't got any fights but you've done a lot of sparring and stuff like that. They really do investigate to see, and if you go to one of those shows, they normally do get the levels about right, sort of match them up. So if De La Hoya wants to go and do that to someone around the same level, more power to him. But when you say comeback in boxing, you're thinking, is he going to try and use his name to get back up there and jump in with one of these killers? And it's just not good.
Which he will. And he called that Triple G, and I said, listen, even a Triple G not in his prime is gonna hurt Oscar. Especially the fact that when Oscar tried to go up to those type of weight classes, he got stopped, and this was in Oscar's prime. So I don't want to see him go up to those weight classes right now whilst he's not in his prime. And GG still put a bruising on him.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, guys. But yeah, please do get involved in the conversation. Drop us a comment and we'll read out some of our suggestions next week. So who would you want to see return to boxing if you can? Mention names of Lennox Lewis, Joe Kazagi, some top names there.
Sugar Ray Leonard, let's not forget my namesake.
3.0, you name it.
4.0 by this stage, isn't it?
4.0 at this stage. So if you guys have a front row ticket to watch a boxer again, who would it be? Now, guys, in our last episode, we shared the excitement of Josh Warrington returning to action to fight the Mexican Mauricio Lara. This week, scrap that. He's now, guys, he's since now vacated his IBF World Title, which is a bit of a shame, really, because I was hoping for a big gift for Warrington. And it's crazy. I mean, like we say, guys, there is no dull week in boxing. We can spend a whole week talking about a fight and then suddenly scrap that. Something else has changed. Steve, what's your thoughts on that? Because I guess there's now a chance to see Warrington take on Kid Galahad.
Bro, that guy owes me some strepsils, man. I swear I got a sore throat last week from gassing and I started talking like loads of rubbish about how good he was and how much he's like a fighter and all this nonsense. And then literally on the Tuesday, he gives up his title. What's going on? I don't know, man.
Not bad.
Like I say, he let me down there, bro. He let me down. Good fighter. I can't see why he done it. It remains to be seen. Hopefully, it comes clear what what his thinking is. Obviously, maybe he's thinking a big fight in America, but surely if he goes, any negotiation table looks a lot better if he's got an IBF title strapped around his waist and he's like, look, I'm the IBF champion. Josh Warrington without a title is some guy from Leeds. Like, what are you doing?
Clive, I want your take on that one because there was high hopes of Warrington having a world title unification fight up in smoke.
Yeah, sorry, Andrew. Yeah, it's just very baffling, mate. I was shocked when I come across the news. I know he was devastated not to get that unification bout with Zucan, but yeah, for him to vacate his IBF strap just made no sense to me. And there was talks about him wanting to build a legacy for himself and go over to the States, fight the likes of Gary Russell Jr. But yeah, it's all very baffling, mate. I wish I could explain it, but I can't. Yeah, we'll just see what's in store for Warrington, mate.
Ray, what's your thoughts on fighters vacating belts?
I understand if you want to, I guess, go up to another weight class. I understand if it's a case of there's a guaranteed bigger fight, bigger money fight, and another reputable belt on the line, then fair enough. I guess this is truly confusing, but no context, Eddie Hearn, insert meme here. I'm sure he's got a master plan for this, hopefully. We shall wait and see. He might make us eat our words, End of the year, we might be like, wow, Eddie was right. Or it might be end of year, what the hell was Eddie thinking? So we'll see how it goes, but it'll be interesting. I know Galahad really wanted that rematch. It's a shame that he didn't get that, but maybe this is Warrington's one chance to go to the States and extend his profile to not being just known as the Leeds guy and wants to be known as Mr. UK. So best of luck to him, but it's interesting.
You are right though. They don't say earn with Hearn for nothing, innit? So like,
Well, I mean, there is talk of Warrington potentially taking on WBC belt holder Gary Russell Jr. How would you
Is
see
this
that?
actual? Is this for actual WBC belt or franchise belt?
Because I guess the whole green division is very complicated.
Oh man, I want a franchise belt. WBC, please, if you can. The Wayne wants a franchise belt. Send us one.
TWI franchise belt. But I think Gary Russell Jr. Man, I don't understand that one because like Gary Russell Jr. He's a good fighter. But he's not, I know he's American and he's flash and stuff. He's not exactly like the biggest name in the world. Like, do you know what I mean? It's, I don't understand what you're going to get from fighting Gary Russell Jr. He fights once in a while. I don't know. I don't rate that fight.
All remains to be seen. Let's stick to the guys in America or Mexico, shall we say? Canelo. He's back in action next month. It's not going to be against Billy Joe Saunders. It's not going to be the trilogy against Golovkin. Guys, what's your thoughts on this one? Because it's not a big fight, is it?
Well, you know what? His fight is mandatory. The last I saw of Yildirim, he got taken out in the first round by Chris Eubank Jr. I haven't really followed his career, to be honest. Yeah, no disrespect to him, but yeah, this could be like a tune-up fight for Cinco de Mayo come May.
Yeah, I think it's a very good tune-up fight for Canelo. Just, I guess, with so much inactivity last year, I think he just wants to go in there, get some more rust off of him, and then make himself, I guess, promote himself even more. Promote that Billy Joe Saunders fight. They might even invite Billy Joe to America to sit ringside. So when the inevitable does happen, Billy Joe comes into the ring. He lets people know Canelo lets people know he's going to be fighting for Mexican pride on Mexico Independence Day, so or Independence Weekend. It works out for all parties. I know Canelo's got a 2-fight deal, so it's very smart for him. Get the mandatory out of the way, fight Billy Joe. Obviously, he's going to look to unify, and then if he gets through Billy Joe, then end of the year, Caleb Plant do a deal with PBC, and Canelo might get his wish of clearing the division by the end of the year. So we will then know him as Saul Canelo Alvarez.
It sounds too straightforward there.
I just love that like Eddie Hearn when he was going to sign Tyson Fury for Tyson Fury's comeback. My man was like, "Oh, if you heard the opponents he wanted, absolutely no chance I could put those fights on." Yeah, and he said that was his excuse, and he comes out with Yildirim for Canelo. Like Eddie Hearn is one shameless dude, but you can't argue with Canelo because he's fought like the best so far. So it's a little fight off for him. But Eddie Hearn, man, he is one shameless dude to announce that. That's joke.
How did Yildirim even become mandatory? That guy's last win was 2018.
Because Eddie Hearn made a little phone call.
Hey, like, how did he find himself like with this lottery ticket here?
Imagine.
And I think his last bout, his last bout was lost to Dirrell. So that was February 2019.
How does Yildirim how does Yildirim even train for this? Like, what discussion are you having with your trainer? Like, yeah, if you just jab and move, mate, you're gonna win this one.
Oh man!
I never saw an absolute like certainty of a loss. Like what? Like this is like there's not even any point, man. That's hilarious.
Like I said, get the mandatory out of the way.
So yeah, that fight's gonna be taking place on the 27th of Feb. So Hard Rock Stadium in Florida. It's not an opponent we had in mind. It's a mandatory, but I'm sure we'll be tuning in regardless. And yeah, moving on to more boxing updates. Unfortunately, Sergey Kovalev failed a VADA test this past week. Stephen, what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, it's disappointing, man. Like whenever someone gets popped like that, it's, you start to doubt their whole career. You start to say like how much of it was legit, how long's he been doing this for. All them questions come in, and like he was a fighter that had that ferocity when he was on the come up. I remember him knocking out Nathan Cleverly over in the UK, and I remember thinking at that time that was a bad knockout. Like that was like he just crushed Nathan Cleverly like he was nothing. This guy was like a world champion. And I remember thinking that was special at that time. So I don't know. You can't accuse people of anything, but like he's 37 years old now. Maybe he just thought like getting old, need a little juice in the tank, innit?
Oh mate, it's very sad to hear. A lot of people thought that he won that first fight with Andre Ward's, And it just goes to show the levels this guy had in his arsenal. Andrew, thoughts?
Yeah, I think this is the end for him now. He hasn't fought since November 2019, where he lost his world light heavyweight title against Alvarez. Doesn't look very great. And I want to ask you guys, how does a boxer who's failed a test, how does that affect your view of him?
Lose a lot of credibility. Like if we were to look at someone like Kid Galahad's, like leading up to the Warrington fight, he got like non-stop criticism come his way, like the constant bashing, and it's very hard to like shade it off. And again, if you were to look at, look over in the States at Baby Miller, for example, this guy is constantly getting trolled. Whenever it comes to his interviews, there's someone always has to bring it up. It's always a talking point. So yeah, it does really tarnish their careers.
Yeah, it's not even a tough one. Do you know what I mean? It's like you deserve everything you get. Like really, like in the Baby Miller like case, what if you're one of his opponents on the come up? My man's just like putting like boatloads of drugs inside himself. You can do some real damage there. This isn't running. This ain't cricket. This ain't football. Like this is, you're getting in the ring with another man, and you kind of have a gentleman's agreement that you're not gonna, you really are putting yourself at a massive advantage there. And like, speed, power, strength. I don't know, man. I think it's scummy, scumbag maneuvers.
It's what they say, Steve. You don't play boxing.
That's exactly it. Like, and like to lose fair and square, you know what you're getting yourself into. Like Kovalev has killed a man in the ring. I don't know if you knew that. Like, yeah. And when you get popped later on in your career, that man's family's got to look back now and go, hang on a minute, was that there? Why give yourself that doubt? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, and what if you do something like that? Heaven forbid. And this is where we're at with the sport. So like more power to catching all these fools, and just like and they should publicize it, and their career should be done. Like, I'm not saying ban or whatever, but lose a lot of fans, get criticized. Good, yeah. Why not?
Yeah, there's a difference to like football, basketball, where you're literally putting your life on the line. It's a dangerous game. Like, you don't play boxing, and he deserves everything that comes his way, and it's just an absolute shame.
And it's interesting to see, like in the Canelo fight, he was heavily drugs tested for that, because Canelo does heavy VADA testing for every fight. And like, lo and behold, he weren't looking the same. He weren't looking like the killer that he has demonstrated. I'm not saying anything there, but he did look not as strong, not as powerful, and he got stopped by a lighter guy. So like that tells you a lot.
Well, when Andre Ward came out this week and said he weren't surprised by this.
There you go. Like, there you go. Like,
the Diaz brothers, famously said they're all on that ish. Listen, man, maybe they called him a madman, but maybe the Diaz brothers were right.
It's a bit of a shit note to end this podcast, boys. It's all doom and gloom, man. Fucking hell. But
listen, man, Roger Mayweather once famously told us we don't know shit about boxing, so we're just uncovering it bit by bit. R.I.P. the Black Mamba.
Nah, for real.
It is quite sour, and I kind of look back at the fight against Anthony Yard, and I just really wish Anthony kind of really emptied that tank and gave it all and kind of stopped him.
Yeah, I don't know about that bit of advice right there, man. I think he emptied the tank a tad bit too early, but yeah, I get what you're saying, bro.
Oh, mate, I was there. What round was that when he was like, when Anthony Yard had him? Like, Anthony Yard, East London boy, local lad to us. And man, we were all on the edge of our seats that night when like we thought he had my man, innit?
But yeah, credit to Kovalev, that fight. Like Anthony Yardia was an absolute killer, and the young buck coming in, Kovalev, he must have been 35 years old, and he was still the favourite, I suppose. Yeah, put him away, and I thought that was a fantastic showing. It is what it is.
Turns out the only difference between them was just a little bit of testosterone, on the weekly,
Well, guys, that's all we've got time for. Thank you very much for joining, as always. I know we spoke about McGregor returning to boxing. Whether that happens or not, remains to be seen. Josh Warrington vacating his IBF World Title. It's been a bit of a weird show, really. There's been a bit of ups and downs in boxing.
Yeah, I thought it was a great showing in the UFC yesterday, and lots of boxing action in weeks to come. So very much looking forward to that. But yeah, Steve?
Nah, for real, man. Boxing, that's why we love it. It's like the highs and lows there. Last week we were so gassed by those announcements, like Frampton and Eddie Hearn coming out, and you live for it. And then this week you got Warrington giving up these belts. You've got Kovalev failing drug tests. You've got Jake Paul being an idiot somewhere. And you just and we roll with the punches, boys. Good.
Roll with the punches.
And don't forget to leave a comment, share, and press that like button. Please do let us know what boxer you would love to see return to the ring as well. That's all we've got time for, guys. So take care, and most importantly, stay safe. Peace.
Peace out.
Peace.